Welcome to the Shango Diaries, written by Madison, where love gets messy, the past never really stays in the past, and the heart wants what it wants, even when the mind says nah. It's real, it's raw, and it's got all the highs, lows, late night texts, and unanswered questions that come with falling hard for someone who might not be ready to catch you. So, press play, get comfortable, and step into Monica's world, where passion and chaos go hand in hand, and the truth, well, it's complicated. This is the Shango Diaries. Let's get into it. Previously, it was chemistry. Now it's something deeper. Monica and Shango have crossed that invisible line, the one between want and need, between curiosity and certainty. Love isn't always fireworks. Sometimes it's quiet mornings, small gestures, and the comfort of knowing someone isn't going anywhere. This is episode 24, A Deeper Kind of Love. Come on, let's get into it.
All right, let's jump right into it. Today, we are looking at a really specific set of sources related to the Shango Diaries, written by Madison, online dating vintage 2008.
It really is like opening a time capsule, isn't it? We've got these email exchanges between Monica and Shango from one particular week back in May 2008, plus some episode recaps from the Shango Diaries, week 24.
Yeah, and our goal here really is to kind of pull out the main dynamics, the key insights. What do these unfiltered communications from way back then actually tell us about their relationship, about navigating life's chaos?
We're basically stepping back into 2008, into this very personal story that's just laid out in these documents. It's quite something.
Okay, so let's get into these emails first. Where should we start?
Well, they don't exactly ease you in, do they? Take that first one we have from Monica. It's May 12th, just afternoon.
Oh, wow, yeah. Okay. It really hits you immediately, the intensity level. She's writing she's not afraid or scared to move to the next level, and saying she wanted everything with you from day one. She talks about how the feeling changed, from just infatuation to something more profound and meaningful. It's a lot.
It really is a complete emotional outpouring. Like, I want to be with you, take care of you, love you up, and freak you down. And that line, wow, you are the only man who makes me feel that I am truly loved.
And she connects it to a sermon, a dream. It feels incredibly raw. Very vulnerable.
Right. So you're processing this huge declaration of love, this vision for the future. And then literally 2 minutes later, 12:10 p.m., Shango emails back. One line.
What does it say?
We have a dog.
Oh my God. Seriously.
Seriously, talk about emotional whiplash. This deep, profound message met instantly with puppies.
It is something, and it keeps going like that.
It does. The very next emails, flying back and forth over the next couple of hours, 12.1, 12.49, nearly 3 p.m., they are laser focused on the dog logistics.
Okay, so what are the details there?
Well, the sources show they nailed down the adoption date, the 19th. They're talking about being worried the dog's first cycle will be a bloody mess. Whether to get a boy or girl dog.
Practical stuff.
Very practical. The cost of spaying, like $600 plus, and sorting out payment via PayPal. It's all immediate, very grounded.
But Monica's still sort of in that emotional space too, right? Even with the cycle talk.
Yeah, she's clearly excited. She says, I really want her, but I want you to want her as well. You can feel her energy, writing woof woof, planning a trip to PetSmart. She's on board.
Okay, and didn't something else pop up too, like a household issue?
Right. Amidst all this, Shango vences about a $150 frig repair, just drops it in there.
And Monica tries to smooth it over, saying, the expense will come back to you.
Exactly. So this first exchange, it's like a perfect little snapshot, isn't it? You've got this peak emotional moment crashing right into everyday life, the dog, the fridge repair.
And just really different ways of communicating about each side of things.
Totally. What's fascinating is how fast they switch between these modes. 1 minute it's soul-bearing connection, the next it's dog logistics and PayPal. Seems like blending the massive and the mundane was just how they operated.
Okay, so moving on through that week in May. What else did the email show us?
Well, things keep developing. We see an email from Monica to her son, Kyle, on the 14th, talking about puppy-proofing the place. So the dog is definitely a go.
Right.
And then there's this interesting email from Monica to Shango on the 15th. She calls it Promise.
A promise about what?
She promises not to get too crazy about puppy, specifically no pink outfits, just lots of photos.
Huh. Okay, what does that tell you? It sounds like maybe there's some history there or an inside joke.
It feels playful, yeah. Like she knows she might go overboard. Maybe he's teased her about it before. It suggests they have this shorthand, this understanding.
Makes sense. And the tone shifts again, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Something about art.
Oh, yeah. The Motique Gallery emails, May 15th and 16th. They're discussing a piece called Pink Chair, and Monica's tone is super affectionate here, calls him sexy daddy.
Sexy daddy. Okay. And how does Shango respond to that?
He leans right in, replies he called her and will get it for you early next week. Why, you ask? You are mine, damn it.
Lots of exclamation points.
Wow. Okay, so possessive, but also romantic, like he wants to provide for her. That's another layer.
Exactly. Adds to this dimension of romance, assertion, ownership. It's intense, but different from the dog talk or even the first big love email.
And then, well, the sources indicate things get even more intense and pretty explicit starting around the 16th.
They really do. The communication shifts into this very open, very detailed exploration of their physical relationship, their fantasies. It's quite stark.
We see that line from Shango, right? You make it hard to want to fuck another woman. Not impossible, but hard as a motherfucker.
Yeah, very blunt.
And Monica's reply is just as direct. Good. I'm greedy and want it all for myself anyway. Owns it.
Totally. And from late Friday into Saturday morning, May 16th to 18th, the emails get incredibly graphic. They're essentially co-creating these very charged sexual scenarios. The specifics really stand out in the source material. Things like, heels will be at the steps for you to put on and take every fucking else off.
Or Shango telling her to bury your head in the pillow and take it like the bad nasty, take it like you own it, bitch you are. The language is powerful.
You really feel the anticipation they're building for when they're together. Talk about the morning glory session, scaring the neighbors. Monica explicitly states what she wants. Wild abandon.
Right, she gives instructions, pull my hair, bite my lip, all the while fucking me.
And Shango responds in kind, describing specific acts. He says, I am ready to fuck you, not make love to you, F-key you. And mentions things like, push my head further into you, slap me on my ass, choke me.
Looking at the sources, you see these recurring themes. Ownership is huge. Take ownership of all that is yours. You are mine, damn it. Intense physical experience, like enjoying the ouch.
In the impact it seems to have on her, how she feels afterwards. She talks about wanting to walk out the house, thinking, yes, I'm the one, having a new swagger.
It's clear these sources show a relationship that wasn't just deep emotional talks and future plans. It had this incredibly intense, very explicit physical side that they documented and explored really openly in these messages.
Yeah, it covers the whole spectrum of intimacy, it seems.
And if you circle back to Monica's first email, that declaration of profound love, it seems for them this deep feelings and this really raw, explicit desire weren't separate things. They existed side by side, maybe even fueled each other.
Okay, so love, puppies, sex,
Yeah.
and then the emails throw in another major element,
Yeah.
business drama.
Right, as if there wasn't enough going on. This comes through in a really detailed email from Shango to Monica on May 18th. He's breaking down a dispute over an audiobook contract.
Who's the dispute with?
Someone named Mary, apparently connected to the Scientology Center. He lays out the whole disagreement.
What was the core issue? Money.
Yeah, basically, the initial deal was supposedly $300 per finished hour for about 8 hours of work. But the reality he describes is way different. Only 101 pages, narration only, and this weird payment structure based on word count per hour.
Like 1 hour equals 9,000 words.
Exactly, which he points out is not an industry standard. He also complains about having to pay his own travel and lodging, suggesting it was time to take advantage of me being there for the Audi's Awards.
And there was something else, too, about filming.
Yeah, being asked to film promotional segments without pay, which he objected to, saying, as a union actor, I want to be compensated. He sounds pretty frustrated.
And this is where Monica gets pulled in directly, right? Not just as emotional support.
Precisely. Shango explicitly tells her he's making her his agent for this deal. He literally says he'll pass this on to my agent, Mrs. Monica Madison, and gives her clear instructions on payment terms, wants to be paid up front on the last day.
So he's delegating the problem to her. How does she respond?
Her reply, same day, shows she's immediately on it. She says she was taking notes, as he explained, notes that Mary hasn't actually contacted her yet, and questions why the job suddenly seems much smaller, like 1 hour instead of 8.
So she's analyzing the situation.
And taking action. By the next day, May 19th, we see an email from Monica directly to Mary saying she wants to discuss terms for Richard Allen. presumably Shango's project. She stepped right into that agent role, like a fixer.
Wow. Okay, so that's a whole other dynamic playing out. Business partner, essentially.
Exactly. And all this stuff, the intense love, the dog logistics, the explicit texts, the business battles, it all seems to feed into the narrative we see in the Shango Diaries Week 24 recaps. They show how intertwined everything was.
Right, the recaps bring it together. What do they highlight from that week?
Well, episode 21 mentions a confrontation. Monica calling Shango out hard, no sugarcoating, no softness. It talks about his lying, her trusting her intuition, and a bold move from Monica. So conflict is definitely present.
Sounds like it. What about the next episode?
Episode 22, called The Tapes, the Truth, and Old Girl, just piles on the drama. Monica's facing this huge crisis at work. The network's in crisis. The tapes are missing. Execs are all over her. Major professional stress.
Okay, so external pressure cooker.
But the recap says even that doesn't hit as hard as what she just found out about Shango. And this introduces Old Girl.
Old girl, who's that?
The source describes her as real and bold, and apparently she's not happy that Shango chose Monica. So past relationship drama spilling into the present, the recap sums it up as Sex in the City with a scandalous twist.
Okay, so work chaos, relationship secrets, past flames.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Definitely has that high-stakes, messy feel. Then episode 23 uses this metaphor of negotiating the future around furniture, a work table, contrasting Monica's practical focus with Shango's on legacy and dreams.
And it highlights their different immediate concerns, right?
Okay.
Monica dealing with the missing tapes, a radio interview, while Shango's focused on his book.
Yeah, and then Shango drops a truth bomb. He's ready for a family. This comes just as Monica is apparently plotting her escape route from her high-pressure job. Timing.
Wow. So much happening simultaneously. But amidst all that chaos, the recaps mention something else about their connection.
They do. Despite the confrontations, the work stress, the old girl drama, the differing immediate priorities, the recaps emphasize their rhythm and how they hold space for each other's dreams.
That's interesting. Suggests that even with all the turbulence, there was still this underlying sense of mutual support for the bigger picture.
That's what it seems to imply, yeah. That beneath the daily crises, they maintained some kind of connection around their aspirations.
So if we try to pull all these threads together, what do these 2008 sources ultimately show us about this relationship?
I think they show a relationship defined by almost radical openness, or maybe just radical integration. You have the profound emotional declarations right next to the mundane details of getting a dog or fixing a fridge.
And the deeply personal sexual exploration alongside complex business negotiations.
Exactly. It's like all the different parts of life, the romantic, the domestic, the sexual, the professional, weren't kept in separate boxes. They were all tangled together, discussed openly, dealt with simultaneously.
It suggests a connection where navigating the chaos, the external pressures, the internal conflicts, that wasn't separate from the relationship. It was the relationship in a way.
Yeah, maybe for them, intimacy meant sharing and tackling all of it. The good, the bad, the messy, the complicated. All out on the table.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Hearing these specific moments from their life back then, what parts of their communication style or the way they mixed everything together really jumps out at you.
It certainly gives you a unique window into how one couple navigated intensity and complexity over a decade ago.
So we've walked through these specific sources from the Shango Diaries, the emotional highs, the everyday practicalities, the business drama, the raw passion.
It paints a really vivid, really complex picture of their dynamic during that specific week in 2008.
Which leaves us with something to think about. In relationships today, especially with online communication blurring lines, how does putting everything out there, the deepest love, the explicit fantasies, the money problems, the work conflicts, the past entanglements actually shape the connection? Does it ultimately strengthen it or risk overwhelming it?
Tonight they gave in. To the pull they tried to resist. To the truth they've both been running from. She showed up, he let her in. And somewhere between silence and surrender, they found each other again. But love like this, it's never simple. And it never stays still. Stay tuned, because the morning after always has a story. You've been listening to the Shango Diaries. Subscribe, rate, and tell someone who needs a little more Monica and Shango in their life. Catch you next week.